Robbie Lawler had his first professional fight in April of 2001. 2001, can you imagine? There are teenagers who follow this sport and weren't even alive when Bob Lawler made his first walk. And when you take into account that he's only 37 years old, it makes it all the more impressive. I know 37 by no means is young in this sport, but for an individual to compete in probably the hardest sport on the planet for 18 years professionally is insane. The fact that Lawler stands here after all of this time, throughout the many transitions and different phases that the sport of MMA has undergone over the years, and after all of the historic moments that he's been in himself, and is still be on top of his game, one fight away from being in title contention. It's remarkable. The title contention thing is up for debate, of course, with Jorge Masvidal's highlight of the century win over Ben Askren happening just a few weeks back. There is definitely some tough competition in the claiming the rightful welterweight title challenger position. With that being said, the Lawler versus Covington fight this weekend is picking up steam after having essentially no hype on it before now. That next title challenger can always be bumped with an impressive win over a notable opponent. But it really doesn't matter either way. What matters is that Lawler is a true OG of this sport, and while he's showing no signs of slowing down, and in my opinion he has a hell of a lot of runway left to his career, provided he still wants to go on with it, we have to appreciate him while he is here, because there's going to come a day where guys like him aren't around anymore. And by guys like him, I mean fighters that came up in an era where this sport was essentially underground, and money and fortune had absolutely zero intersection with the sport. Lawler came up under the Miletich fighting systems with Pat Miletich and has been there since he was 16 years old. Miletich's camp is infamous for being one of the roughest gyms to ever exist in the game, producing fighters such as Jeremy Horn, Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, Tim Sylvia, and Spencer Fisher, to name a few. That gym was notorious for being extremely tough and having all-out fights in their sparring sessions on a regular basis. Nothing that would ever be allowed in today's gyms, not with what we now know about the effects of head trauma. But those Iowa folk did not take it easy on each other in those days. And to be a 16-year-old teenager who emerged from those conditions to be here today as one of the best welterweights on the planet is something special. Lawler represents the old school. Forget about all that fist posing for the cameras, trash talk / manufactured drama, or putting your fists up at ceremonial weigh-ins. Lawler doesn't give a fuck about any of that nonsense. Like I said, he comes from the old school, a dying breed. He is in Newark, New Jersey this weekend to fight an individual. To hell with all the pre- and post-fight hoopla. He doesn't know anything about that. And it's this very quality coupled with the elite level skill set that makes Robbie Lawler who he is to the fan base. So while most of the attention is on Colby Covington this weekend and what the narrative is going to be, whether he wins or loses, remember that Ruthless Robbie Lawler is here too. And after all the incredible victories he has had over the years, it's very, very likely that he's on the cusp of another one here. So you ought to not worry about Covington so much and pay some attention to Lawler. Not that he cares if you do or not.